earlier I was biting my nail. I just bite my nail once or twice so that I can take the rest of it off with one fell swoop. But sometimes I make mistakes, and I made a mistake midway through, which led to a lot of bleeding, and I still don't have the nail off. And I formulated a way in which I can remove the rest of the nail. First off, I bring this nail clipper that I found that's broken, but I can still make it work by force to cut off the half that's just hanging there. And then later I can cut off the other half. So right now I'm actually just doing it. That half that's hanging there, I'm folding it against the other side that's still there. From that, it gives me a good crease to cut it off with my tool. Unfortunately, my tool isn't that strong right now, so I got it into a twisting motion. Try and cut it off, which I think I was only halfway successful with. Yes. Okay, I'm actually succeeding. Wonderful. So now my nail looks more normal. And later I can deal with the rest of it. Okay. Anyways, was my... I'm gonna check something. Okay, I managed to resume the video. I was just checking to see if the audio was really picking up what I was saying. I don't know anything. Guess I'll try and think of things to say. I didn't really write any notes here at all. I don't like people. I don't like people at all. That's one thing I can say for certain. I feel like a broken record. This stupid thing doesn't fucking work, I'm sorry, but anyways. I don't like people, I don't like interacting with them, I don't like being forced to interact with them. And today I just learned some news which is rather dreadful. They're going to send people with ADHD and autism in the United States to work camps, though I don't know the specifics. I think if you're rich enough, you can definitely get out of it, so that won't really be an issue for me, but it is quite unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. I don't like that, and it seems like it's unlikely to even pass through. Maybe it's not unlikely. Because those populations are hated subconsciously, and people aren't going to care that much at all. Nobody cares for anything. Maybe people care for a lot of things. A lot of things. Things that are strange, things that seem normal. But now I'm here thinking, what separates strange from normal? And I can't exactly put a thought on it. I feel so incoherent all of the time whenever I speak. I'm very bad at speaking. Very, very bad. I'm sorry, I just can't think at all. I'm within the confines of my room. Well, no, I'm within the confines of my bathroom. And now I'm recording again. I recorded a nearly 5 minute snippet earlier yesterday. Maybe add it to this as the beginning, but anyways, I have thought of more ideas for this video. Been thinking a lot, and around 7 to 8 a.m. tomorrow, which I mean today, which I rarely wake up at that time for a day where I'm not at school. I was up during that time, and I was just tossing and turning in my bed and thinking and thinking and thinking. And it just led me to various conclusions. Let me get to the area. Okay. Anyways, there's various notes here which I'll read. So the first note, I guess, thing that I'd like to talk about is recently I remembered this old dream that I had when I was a child, and it involved my grandparents, which not that many dreams really involve them, even though they're one of the consistent figures in my life. They don't really do much now, but back then that was when they did more things with me, and in the dream, my grandmother cheats on my grandfather, so for some reason we're at one of those Persian parties, and I go into the room that my grandmother is in, and then, actually no, well, before going into that room, I see my grandfather, and I talk with my grandfather, and he basically just tells me that he's gonna kill my grandfather, which I guess, yeah, understandable, but I of course was a little upset about it, so I followed him, and I think I was trying to persuade him not to do that. So I go in the room, and he's in there. I think my grandmother's in there with some guy, and my grandfather comes in with a shotgun, and I don't really know what happens after that. It's a mystery. Yeah, I guess it's a wholesome dream for the whole family. The next note that I wrote, actually, speaking of my grandparents, I don't really talk to them much. In fact, I don't remember the last time I said I love you to either one of them. Like, we're family and all that, I just haven't really, I don't remember. There hasn't really been that much interaction. And they interacted a ton with their daughter, which is my aunt, and she was only about 8 years older than me. And I came into their household when I was about 4 years old. But during all that time, they put most of their attention on my aunt. She would have been 12. And they're still putting a ton of attention on her. I think they kept on doing it until she was about 22. But still, they do it a lot. Still more than me. They still give her a lot more attention. Which is weird. I never really felt like I could trust them at all. Like with anything that's sort of heavy, I can't really trust them with that. I can't tell them about my mental issues, etc. I especially can't tell them now, because now I think they're going to start putting autistic and people with autism and ADHD in camps, which they already know I have both of those, but I think that's only really a thing for those that can't afford college, or, those that can't afford college, and they're going to take away their medication, which isn't really a good idea at all. It's really unfortunate how things are turning out, though. I doubt that'll actually gain support, the whole putting the autistic and people with ADHD in camps, because it's very hard logistically, and gaining support for that is also pretty hard. They'd need about 5 extra years of conditioning before they could pull something like that off. But anyways, the next thing to talk about here is let me see. Okay. So recently I've encountered this phenomenon over the past few months, and it's nostalgia for the year of 2020, which I'm sort of getting, not really, because I didn't really experience 2020 the way others did. I was already isolated before 2020, so I didn't really give a shit about the pandemic. And I guess I played Among Us on the phone, and that was really nice. Other than that, I didn't really do much. I played Roblox a lot too. That was when I got Roblox on the computer. It was mainly just, for me, the year that my dad really started becoming more involved, so that was nice. That's what I remember, and I remember playing this game, which I just recently got again, called Dictators No Peace, on his phone, and it is a really nice game to me, and the soundtrack, I like it. It's nostalgic. But other than that, I don't really experience what all these other people experienced. They just experienced what I experienced for a short amount of time, and that's it. And they all bitch about it. Oh well. The next thing I'd like to talk about here would be the next note I just wrote down to talk about random shit is, I was thinking of 4chan, more specifically how people view 4chan in the modern day, because they view it like how people viewed it in 2016, which is already a fallacy in of itself. They assumed it had all this big influence, etc. The only influence it really had was shaping modern meme culture, which is now starting to lose. It's losing its influence, for the most part. It's already lost its influence. By 2020, it was basically had no real influence, but then on, the tales continued saying it's this haven for all these racists and unsavory types, etc. Which is only really true for Pole and B, but B isn't even what it used to be. Now it's just a bunch of porn. Pole is entirely comprised of federal agents. And that's just it. I actually did go and Pole a little bit, not really because I agreed with the ideologies in there. It was whenever like a big something sort of historical happens. It's like, for example, when Donald Trump was nearly assassinated, things like that, and I'd go there just to see what the reaction is. But yeah, other than that, it's basically nothing. There's not much. That's just one of the notes I put down, because I saw people in comments and they're all like, yeah, 4chan, he's from 4chan, but no, it's all over, it's all gone. The world of 2010s is the 2000s and 2010s, they're just going away. All that remains is echoes in the future, I see it as exceptionally bleak for most of the world. And for the old people, it it I don't even know what that would be like. 'Cause their world is dying incredibly rapidly. And I don't mean just the world they were born in, sort of, but like things still maintain a relative consistency in social dynamics, etc. since the 60s, most of their lives, but in the 2000s, things started to change. But it was quite minor. Like, for example, people are being more vulgar on TV, etc. Well, that was happening for a while before that, but still. But the internet, it just changed everything, and now there's entire generations raised on it, raised on a screen, with all these strange ideas in their head. And as time passes, everything becomes more and more and more and more and more and more absurd. Say, for example, a person born in 1960 will be practically unable to recognize the 2040s. And they'd live to see that. They'd live to see that. They'd be in their 80s. Like, I can't even imagine what the 2040s would look like, and I'm young. I imagine it's going to be pretty hellish. I'd like to move out to North Dakota, because I just want to get away from high population centers, and I want to be in more colder environments. Because, yeah, climate change is also a thing, too. That's just like a contributing factor. I don't think that's going to be like the big thing, like the big thing that everyone's going to worry about at that time. It's just looking at how much everything has changed. It's hard to even describe, because, it's the future. I can't really bring much determinants on that. But it's going to be completely unrecognizable from the century prior. Nonetheless, I guess I have more things to talk about, so I just sort of gone on a tirade. The next thing I'd like to talk about is this image that I've seen. And depending on who you are listening to this, you've probably seen this image before. It's this image of a child. And he's got a red shirt, and he's in the middle of his room. And I'm going to pull it up. I can't really say the child's name, because he did something that many would see as unsavory and may make YouTube not like me, or actually pay attention to this, so I'd much prefer not saying his name. But I'm gonna try and find the image. Sorry if it'll take me a while. Okay. Wonderful. I think I'll be able to find it soon. Shit. Sorry. It's taking a while. And I wish I could find this so I could describe it to you, but he's in the middle of the room, and he's doing this strange thing with his hands, and they're on his head. Okay. I'm gonna talk about something else while looking for the image. I think that's probably gonna be more... Oh, I found it! Wonderful! Let me see it. It's low quality. I'm trying... The original image isn't low quality. I just have to go here and I'll find it eventually. High definition version so I can describe it better. Yes, okay. I got it. So, in the image, he's making this, he's having this weird sitting posture. It's sort of like crisscross applesauce. He's wearing a red shirt and his hands are over his eyes and his head is down. He actually looks a lot like me, especially at the age. Around him are board games and all these screens, and it's quite a lively environment, but the kid is just lost in thought, and there's no one around him at all. There's clearly someone taking a photo of it, but it doesn't seem like that person is caring. And that's just, and also, he doesn't actually comprise most of the image, it's mostly just his environment. That this image is, I guess it sort of describes my whole life. It's just how I feel. This image, if there's, I can't describe feelings well, but this image is just how I feel, I guess. In an image, that's how I feel most of the time. My whole life. Well, the next thing I have to talk about here, I just wrote down apocalypse supplies, because I guess it also coincides with the whole going to Montana thing. Not Montana, but North Dakota. Because when I'm over there, I'd like to just slowly accrue survival apocalypse supplies over time. And that's because I think that the world, it's kind of likely to end. So if a nuclear war happens, I'd probably see that as good. Finally just resets everything and the world becomes much more peaceful. It also fixes climate change. After like 20 years, yeah, the environment will be pretty shitty for 1 or 2 decades, but after that, things recover well. The world becomes so much more beautiful, and there aren't as many people around to just annoy me, annoy anyone I'm with. It just, yeah, I guess life would be a little harder, you'd have to hunt around, etc. But having all that supplies on hand just to survive the whole process, like that would be really nice. And the world would be gone, but there'd still be a lot of remnants. And the world would be so much more peaceful. It just seems really nice to me, the aftermath. Unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of people, sort of, like there's going to be a lot of survivors still, and I think maybe there'll be more around urban areas, like a few state governments will probably survive, etc. And over time, they'll still encroach on me. But I'll be an old man by the time they're a big issue. Well, it'd be pretty tribal at first, I'm presuming, and mainly separated by race. It's like when you go to prison, and there's all these gangs, like there's the black gang, there's the white supremacist gang, the fucking Asian gang. There's all those, and Latino gangs. It's like that, but for tribes, and things will be pretty shit for a while. It reminds me of this, people are just going to be barbaric. That's the whole other thing, which is very unfortunate. That's the whole downside.